Hello and welcome to the Oregon Files podcast. First, our disclaimer. We are novice podcasters simply for entertainment and knowledge. If we misquote or offend, it was not on purpose to do so. Today is an awesome day because we have a great interview lined up. And of course, we're at the Roseburg Library again. Our friends let us rent out a room here to do these interviews. Right. It's better in my attic because the backup to this is my attic at my house. And that's just, it's hard to bring people up there. Right.
We've done it.
Does it seem creepy?
Yeah. We've had some people question or give some long thought about coming up and joining us. So welcome to our 52nd episode. It's an exciting one for Mark and I. We're both animal lovers. We have Peggy on here from Umpqua Wildlife Rescue.org. But a quick house cleaning. If you want to get a hold of our show, you can email us at OregonFilesPodcast@yahoo.com. Mark and I, we scratch and clatter away and created our own little website, www.theoregonfilespodcast.com. If you want any merchandise, you can go on there. We have hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, directories to our episodes, YouTube. You can go and click on links to the social media page, and there's also ways to contact us through our website. We are very excited to have Peggy with us today from Umpqua Wildlife Rescue, and we're excited to get to know her and the involvement with that organization. And Peggy, welcome.
Thank you
so much.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for taking your time out of your Saturday.
Yep.
It's a beautiful day today.
Right.
Yeah.
We're already on a beautiful Saturday.
All right.
Those interviews.
We should have done it tomorrow. It's supposed to rain.
Oh, it is?
It's easier to record
Oh.
on rainy days.
Right. Yeah.
But thank you. Are you from Oregon, Roseburg?
I'm not a native Oregonian, but I have a family my mother was born in Oregon, Eastern Oregon, and my grandfather was born down in Gold Hill, now Sam's Valley. My family migrated up here in 1992, so I've been here a long time from California.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Nice. What part of
I've
California?
been here almost as long. Actually, I was 32 when I moved here, and I'm 64, so I've been here as long.
There you go.
Central California, Sacramento area.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. My dad lived in a little town called Lodi.
Oh, I know Lodi.
Yeah, he lived on a houseboat for 15 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of got a little too old to be going up and down docks, getting off and on the boat. So
Yeah.
decided an apartment's a little easier for him. But so Umpqua Wildlife Rescue, would you mind telling us kind of how that got started? And
Sure. I'll have to give credit to our founders. It was founded in 1987 by two wildlife biologists in this county. One, Marnie Albritton, who was a biologist for the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and Nancy Duncan, who was a biologist for the BLM. And they, were animal lovers and decided to start this organization and created a situation that's very different than most wildlife rehab organizations in the fact that we don't have a true center. Their whole goal was they felt like the quality of care would be better if we could train individuals to become licensed rehabbers, and they would be supported by the organization, and they could do wildlife rehab from their home instead of a center where people are just doing shifts all the time, and it kind of has an effect on the animals. So that's the way they designed it, and it's been here since 1987.
Wow. Where's it located at?
Well, actually, we don't have a real location in that we have monthly meetings, and so everybody comes together, and everybody that does the actual rehab part has been set up at their individual homes, and supported by our organization financially and emotionally sometimes. I would say the closest would be a satellite center at my place. I've been in the group a long time, and I raised my hand one time many years ago to hang on to UWR's stuff, like medical, first aid stuff and all of these things. So wherever I go, I've packed it along. And as time progressed down the years, I actually have created a clinic, that has all this now, and X-ray machine and anesthesia machine and euthanasia machine. And so people in the group know, like, if they need supplies, if they need something X-rayed, they can get a hold of me and a couple others that are qualified to run it and meet up out there. So we actually kind of have a semi-location. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Yeah.
I love you just raise your hand. Like, I'll hold on to this stuff. It's,
I know. No, it's my husband always says, your wildlife group is like the mafia. You get in and you can't get out. like that's true. You're sucked in. So
Yeah. So the main focus of it is to rehabilitate and rescue specific wildlife animals, right? Not all wildlife animals.
So we are actually what you might call free agents of the state and federal government. You know, we are a nonprofit, a 501(c) nonprofit. We're an all volunteer organization, but there's extensive training that has to go on and licensing to do this legally. And so we all hold anybody that is a licensed rehabilitator. If you're just doing mammals, you have to have a state permit. And if you're doing any kind of migratory bird, you also have to have a federal permit. And so we're governed basically by them. And that includes what we're allowed to do. So any native animal that isn't considered a nuisance animal, we're allowed to do. We're not allowed to do non-native species, which would be in the bird world, starlings, house sparrows, collared doves. And we're not allowed to do, in the mammal world, possums and nutria are non-native. So the best we can do is advise the finders, like, here's your options. If you think it can survive, leave it alone. You can turn it into the Department of Fish and Wildlife. There's not a lot of options there. Fortunately, there's not a whole lot of non-natives that we have to worry about. We can't do bear because we're not equipped. They do have bear facilities in the U.S., one up in Washington, PAWS, that if we get a bear cub in, we can actually take it in for a brief period. And the Department of Fish and Wildlife will try to get it placed in a bear facility. We're not allowed to do cougar and coyotes at all because they're a problem for the farmers and they don't want to, create a worse situation. So, but everything else, I mean, we do squirrels, skunks, bobcat, fox, and
Cherokees, raccoons.
Raccoons, young of the year. We can only do young of the year raccoons outside of the city limits. So we have all these rules we have to follow. And sometimes people get upset with us, but we're actually governed by the state and feds, and we can lose our license, and the organization could actually lose the privilege of conducting rehab. So that's our, we have a body of officers, we as a nonprofit, president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and a board of directors. And so, there's a lot that goes into it. And we have our monthly meetings, and we do workshops to train people, and train them to do it, the way they have to do it. Yeah, so anything native we can do. Birds of prey, songbirds. We're not allowed to do waterfowl right now because of the avian flu. They just opened it back up for us to do bats and bunnies because there was situations with them. And so we just kind of wait to hear from them what we can and can't do.
Interesting that nutrias are non-native.
They are.
Because I literally feel like I see them everywhere. I feel like they're now just native because they're...
Well, and it's, what they consider non-native, like if they're introduced in here by people, they're considered kind of non-native. But if they come here naturally, sometimes they're still considered a nuisance animal. But I don't know that they're technically considered non-native then. It's kind of confusing. Like possums, people think possums aren't native. Well, they're native to the United States, but they're a Virginia possum. They're not an Oregon possum. They come from Virginia.
They take like a train, like a wagon?
I don't know. They may have come over on the wagon train.
Right. Now, who the heck brought up a nutria and carried it in the backpack? So let's just settle down in Oregon with a nutria. It's got to have a purpose, right?
Well, you never know. The Oregon Trail, maybe they picked these things. They found babies, picked them up, and maybe ate the mom, and then and went, "Oh my God, there's babies. Let's bring them."
Right? We just thought the cat is a little off, Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Does the list ever change with like?
It does.
Yeah.
Like I said, we weren't allowed to do bats and bunnies for probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. They put restrictions on those. Now they've opened it back up. We're waiting on the waterfowl because we can do game birds like the turkeys and quail and grouse, which we rarely get. But like your ducks and your geese, we cannot take into our facility. So if we get calls on babies, this works really well. And it actually works better than bringing them in and raising them anyway. So ducks and geese, they have their little broods and they can't count. They don't count. So if you find a group with one that's similar size, you just tuck it in and it just runs in and they just scoop it up and, it works really good.
I love that. That blew my mind.
Sneak it in there.
Sneak it in there.
I did that with one little gosling this year, and it was a lone gosling. I had a hard time finding parents with babies, and then Brenda out here at the library said they're at the duck pond. There's like parents in all sizes. So I drove up, and sure enough, there were like 3 sets of adults with different sized babies. So I had to compare, and it's funny. They're so hard driven for parenting, that's instinct. So I get this baby out of the box and I walk over to the sidewalk and he starts peeping, and here came a set of parents hissing at me like, that's my child.
Really?
And so I put it down because they can be mean. They
Right.
can really be mean.
But even though it wasn't. that is
No,
interesting.
and I put it down and it ran over and they scooped it in, and he wandered over to the bigger group and they pecked at him. And so those parents came over and scooped him in, and then they all went together. And so that works really well with like your mallard ducklings
Does that
and your
just blow
geese.
your mind though when
Yeah.
you see that?
Yeah.
Or are you just so
Well,
used to it
I'm
at this point?
always, even though I've done this many years and I've fostered a lot of goslings and ducklings, I think every time I'm still reticent and hesitant, like it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Is it not going to work? Were they going to beat it up? Are they going to kill it? And
Right.
no, they don't. So
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Nature is awesome.
Once again, animals are better than humans.
yes,
Right?
yes.
Are there other animals that interact like that kind of take on?
Well, right now I'm fostering a baby great horned owl with my educational great horned owl. So again, the parenting instinct, you have to make sure she's ready to accept. But I have a educational great horned owl, Nell. I've had her for 11 or 12 years. She came in to rehab with a head injury, and it didn't mend well. She's functional, but the part of her brain that was apparently damaged had to do with aggression and appetite. So she doesn't really want to feed herself, and she's non-aggressive. She's just not your stereotypical great horn that would want to just take your face off, So I use her as a foster. It's interesting. I've had her all this time, and all of a sudden this year, the other rehab centers in Oregon have heard that I have an educational great horn, and it's always best if you get a single little great horn baby to get it with its own kind, because they imprint easily. The first thing they see when they open their eyes, they think that that's the parent, and then they're habituated to humans and they can be dangerous. So we try to get them with an adult. And so this is the second one I've had this year. This little guy came in, cracked out of the shell. Some people took the eggs and hatched him, didn't know what to do with him, and got it to a rehab center in Bend, Think Wild. And then they called me and they drove it over. So I'm getting ready to introduce this little baby great horn to Nell today. It's kind of a process to put it in a box in the kennel, make sure she's watching and making her noises at the baby, and like she's in that mood where she'll, accept it.
Yes.
And then she'll pretty much be a part of its life until it's kind of at fledging stage, and then I can remove her, and then it can grow up wild and go out and live its life.
That is so interesting. So you have,
I had no idea.
have an adult. Is it considered an adult?
Yeah, it is an adult great horn.
Great
yeah.
owl, and it just
And then
fosters
The baby.
babies.
Yeah. And a lot of your centers,
is-
a lot of your rehab centers, Cascade Raptor, I work closely with them. They have some educational barn owls, but they don't have an educational great horn anymore. So they'll foster other rehab facilities, baby barn owls,
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
Because humans will foster dogs and animals, and then you have the animals that are fostering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's incredible.
My day's complete.
It's like a passive out too. So
Right.
He goes, yeah,
It's just like a loving
Yeah.
out. Like, hey,
Yeah.
your baby, come on.
Well, it was funny. I tried her yesterday. I put the baby in because baby's getting close to opening its eyes. So that's a crucial time. I've got to get it in there when it opens its eyes. It needs to see her, not me. And so I made this little makeshift nest, and I put her in it just to see what Nell would do. I brought her in from outside, and she looked at it like, perked up and looked because it was peeping. And she immediately turned around and put her tail over it, and to shield it and shelter it. And so I went, okay, I think it's going to work.
Right.
Yeah.
And what did you say her name?
Nell is my great
Nell.
horned owl.
So,
Nell.
yeah.
Okay. We've had her for a long time.
Yeah.
So she'll be busy all summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is such a.
I'm like,
so cool.
Yeah, it's so cool.
That's so cool.
You guys can come out and see my educationals sometime if you want.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I love owls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you grow up with animals like?
Well,
pets,
yes,
or-
but they came and went in my household, but
Yeah.
I was the kid. My mom had 5 kids. I was always the one dragging something home. A kitten, a puppy,
Yeah.
a bunny, can I have it? Can I keep it, please? So I was that kind of kid. Yeah,
Right.
always
Yeah.
doing that type of thing.
Yeah.
The whole reason I got involved in this organization is when we moved up here, we moved on to 40 acres. My kids were little, and they would find little tiny bald baby songbirds, and they'd bring them to me to take care of. And I'd try, and they would die. And it's like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, I don't get it. And I happened to see an article in the newspaper saying Umpqua Wildlife Rescue was recruiting and having a series of classes out at UCC. And do you want to learn how to take care of, injured and orphan wildlife? I told my husband I'm taking that class just because I wanted to find out how to keep baby birds alive. But I totally went in a different direction. And what I realized that I was doing wrong is with baby songbirds, most of them, when they're, newly hatched or slightly after, they have to be fed every 15 to 30 minutes from sunup to sundown.
It's like Mark. It's me.
Sunup to sundown.
I am,
Yeah. Or you don't thrive, right? Yeah. And that's intense. And so Brenda Weber, who's sitting out at the front desk here in the library, she's been in the group since almost the inception, 5, 6, 7 years before me. And she did the baby songbirds for 20 years.
Wow.
Every season. She had hundreds.
Wow.
And raised her kids. Unfortunately, she was home and homeschooled them. But my hat's off to people like that, like her, because I just had this nest of baby robins that my neighbor gave me. They took the nest down, and I had the eggs, and 1 egg hatched. And it died. It didn't make it. But the 4 days I was feeding it all day, I wanted to cry. It's like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Hence why I went to birds of prey, because even birds of prey babies, like this baby great horn, only eats 5 times a day. No, every 2.5, every 3 hours. And it's it's a sunup to sundown. And I can do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I took the class, and when I realized, well, I killed it because I was barely feeding them. That's what was happening, But I learned, and that's what most, caring citizens, community people, they find something. They don't realize, I mean, you're taking it. Sometimes you take it by mistake. It's really not orphaned.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're in place for, to explain to them. You go put it back, especially with fawns. They stay in the tall grass, and mom leaves them all day. That's what she does. The fawn doesn't have a scent. Mom does. She'll come feed it at night, move it. This is their thing. But they'll find them and they'll pack them in. And then we have to say, go put them back,
Yeah.
And so, the class teaches you all of those types of things. When I was through taking the class, I decided to not go in the baby bird direction, because I thought, there's no way I'm going to want to feed these things every 15 minutes. I'm grateful that we have 3 or 4 people most all the time that are willing to do that. I just don't think I have the temperament. So I went in the direction of fawns. So I did spring fawns for 17 years, when the moms really weren't alive, and had a fawn compound built in a barn, and ear tagged them, released them, studied them for 15 years, kind of proved that it could be done successfully. There's a lot of controversy with fawn rehab. Most counties or most districts in the state and across the U.S. don't allow it anymore because they're a prey species and they tame up so easily. We were given the opportunity by our wildlife biologist, Todd Lum, who's an awesome person, him and Bill Kennedy, to give us the opportunity to do it, prove it, and try it. As long as I tagged them, journalized their post-release behavior. Success is if they go out there and integrate in a herd and reproduce and leave people alone, which is what we proved. So we actually developed the program, and we're still allowed to do it to this day because of it, and written a manual about it. We've posted a paper in the International Wildlife Rehab Council, hoping people would read it and go, okay, we need to know how to do this because, these spawns they're healthy. They just don't have a mom. Mm-hmm. And so the outcome's not good if they don't have a rehabber able to do them.
How are you able to track that?
Well, sometimes you can collar them, like ODF&W will collar them, but I happened to live, when I did the fawns, I was on 40 acres. I had a mountain behind me, a big mountain, a huge area. And so we ear tagged them. And then I just monitored and watched I had a 2-story house and a dormer. I'd sit up there and I'd watch with my binos and I'd see them. And the does would live in the range that they were raised in. And I could be out walking on my property and see a group of does and see tags and then see babies with tags. And then I'd look at my binoculars and write down which deer was that and what'd she have. And, so it was kind of all right on site. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
yeah, we had wasn't a doe. She must have been a younger deer, but she curled up right in front of my front kitchen window in the bark mulch. Unfortunately, I think we even call Umpqua Wildlife Rescue, but I think she was too old to be rescued.
Yeah,
and she ended up passing away right in my damn mulch.
Oh, that's so sad.
What do I do with this deer?
Yeah, that's another thing that we're mandated by the state. We can take young of the year, which are the newborns, up to the 30th of September. We can't take anything after that. Not allowed to.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of options for them then,
Like in the middle of COVID too, 2020, I'm like, this is this year.
Yeah.
It's like, this is everything.
Not good.
Right.
Yeah.
COVID and I got deer dying in my front yard. It's the end of the world.
Yep. Yeah.
Do you have, I was wondering, do you have animals that people call about that you kind of get surprised that they call about, like unexpected mammals or birds that
Yes. Sometimes you get a call and they'll tell you, that it's this. Often, like, they'll think like baby pigeons or doves are baby eagles. And whenever they call, you go, yeah, right, And so far, we've never gone and had it be a baby eagle. But sometimes you get a call on a very rare thing, like we don't get badgers, really.
Yeah.
They're out here, but they're very secretive and they're out way in the back and they hide and people don't find them. And so we had a call on a badger out in Winston area, and we're like, yeah, right. So we were all curious, like, let's go see.
Yeah.
And it was a badger.
Oh, cool.
And it was filled with quills from a porcupine.
Oh, wow.
And he was not a happy badger. He wasn't doing well. So one of our primary mammal rehabbers, Rhiannon Lafreak, who has been in the group forever also, rescued it and he had to go to the vet and get all those quills pulled out.
Oh, wow.
And then go on antibiotics, and he was good. One of the other things that sticks in my mind is that we've had a couple calls on alligators.
Oh, really?
And then you think, oh no. And yeah, there've been a couple of alligators, small, people buy them at the pet store.
Right, and they just get
and
loose.
Then they let them go, and they think they can survive here, and they really can't.
Interesting. So what do you do with the gators?
There's actually a rescue organization for exotic reptiles and things. So we pass them on there.
Does that happen often?
No. I think in the time I've been in the group, which has been about 28 years, maybe twice.
Oh, okay.
Twice.
Not often.
And we get calls on exotics, like common ones, like, peacocks and, and we're not licensed to do exotic, non-natives. So we have to turn them over to somebody else, you know.
Do you have big snakes and all?
We can take snakes. This is a funny story. I was thinking of a funny story. It's the funniest one I can think of. Okay, so I'm going to share it. And it has to do with a snake. So when you get licensed for wildlife rehab, there's sections that you can get licensed for, and it depends. You know, you can get licensed just for songbirds, passerines, or just for raptors, just mammals, or reptiles, or all of them. Brenda out here is our only reptile licensed rehabber, along with other things. But at the time, it was long ago when the founders were still in the group, and we had a vet that was in our group, Joanne Richards, and she got a snake, and she, I think, performed first aid and maybe stitches, I'm not sure, but she didn't want this snake slithering and, you know, opening that wound. So she was thinking about, what can I do? What can I do? And she ended up using a condom and put it on the snake. And it worked beautifully. And it healed. And then off it came.
I'm going to be honest. I was not expecting
That was
part of that podcast.
First time that we're on a podcast. That's amazing. That's amazing.
We have to be innovative, you know, like we have certain amount of resources, and we have to be, as rehabbers, like we're not vets. So we mostly treat symptoms, and we have to be creative and come up with stuff. And, you know, and that's just what she came up with.
That
and
is so I wonder if she was just like looking, did she just like look around her house and was like,
what do I have?
What can I use? Yes.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
That's clever.
I'm out of questions now.
That's
so.
pretty good. Yeah.
Mhm.
So how many people are in the organization?
I would say in general, like this is a hard gig here, you know. It's like people don't realize, a lot of people, not a lot, a percentage of the people that come in think, oh, this is going to be so fun. And I'm first to say it's not fun. It's rewarding.
Yeah.
Okay, it is rewarding. There's something about it. If it gets in your blood, you know. So we always have a few leaving and a few new coming. We're always recruiting annually and doing a series of workshops and hoping we can get some younger people in, because there's a few of us that have been in 28 to 35 years, and we're getting older. We're getting a little tired, you know. We're like, what's going to happen if we can't replace ourselves? So we're always training and getting, and I fortunately had a guy come in a little over a year ago that wanted to do birds of prey, and he took all the steps, just got licensed. He's so enthusiastic, and I'm so proud of him, Joe Reichertz. And his philosophy, I want to share this because he said, the way I look at it is that it's my second job. It's just not a job I get paid for. You know, I'm a free agent of the state and federal government, but I have to look at it like a job so that I'm committed. And I think if more people looked at that, kind of struck me like that's a good way to look at it. I think you'll probably last, you know, because a lot of them just come in for the fun of it and, oh, this is going to be cute and fun. And then they realize, oh, this is a lot of work and a lot of commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot of your time. So to answer your question, we run with about 20 to 25 people at all times.
That was actually
Few
awesome.
leave, few come. You know, because we have to have our directors. We have a board. I think there's 11 people on our board. Not everybody in the group does rehab. They come in, and our secretary, Jeannie, that's all she does. She comes to meetings, takes the notes, the minutes. That's her thing. And we appreciate that. You know, we need all kinds. And Brenda's our treasurer, and Cindy is our vice president. I'm the president. And then we have our board for decision making. And so we have to have that body of people too. Some of us cross over. We do a little of all of it, rehab and officer and board. And then some just want to do our hotline, which is huge. It's the start of it all. They just, you know, we have a hotline from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. So people sign up and do either one full day a week or half days, and dispatch calls to the rehabbers. And others like to just be on the list to do critter carry rescuing. Like we have a Bob who, he comes seasonally. He was gone for a year. He was here for a year, gone. Now he's back, and we're so happy he's back. All he wants to do is do rescues for us. And to give you an idea, he came back, and he came to the first meeting, and he's like, I'm really getting bored. I hope that you guys start calling me. I said, you better be careful what you ask for. So to give you an example, yesterday, he had 3 fawns to go get in all different areas of the county. Wow. All 3 moms were gone, not alive. And then he lives in Sutherland, and he had to get him all the way down to Myrtle Creek to our fawn rehabber now who does the fawns, and took him all day. And then he came out to my place to bring me some medicine that he picked up in Canyonville for my bald eagle. And I said, "How you feeling now, Bob?" He's like, "I'm going to go home and have a beer." But,
Yeah.
So it takes a whole village and, to create the balance and everything. Yeah. And some of us just stay and stay and stay. And, my family off and on for years have said, "Why do you keep doing that? Why do you keep making time for this? Why do you do this?" And I'm like, the only thing I can come up with is that it somehow validates my existence. It helps me feel like I'm giving something back without asking for something in return. And if more people did that, whatever it was, could be animals, the forest, elderly, children, whatever, it'd be a much better world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you guys service, is it just Douglas County?
Yeah, we have to stay within our county. It's kind of a county by county thing.
So there are other, so each county kind of has a similar organization.
Hopefully, not all. Like there used to be more when I started. Eugene had Willamette Wildlife, and they're gone. So there really is no rehab center there except Cascade Raptor, which are just birds of prey. Over at the coast, straight over Bandon, Coos Bay used to be Free Flight for years, and they're gone. So there is nobody over there. So they call us a lot, but we can't take them unless we can get permission from our bio, and the bio over there agrees. We can get permission on a case-by-case basis to let them bring it over the county. And it depends on what it is, if they'll say yes or no.
Right.
So it's really sad for them. They have no resources. Wildlife Images is down in Merlin, which is out of Grants Pass. So, there's more and more of them that have kind of closed up because it's a hard life.
It's a nonprofit. That's
right. Right.
So how do you guys keep the lights on?
We have a great community. We're just community supported financially. That's how. And we don't even really apply for grants. There's a couple of trusts like Wildlife Trust. They donate to us annually, and they've been very generous. And we put out a newsletter 3-4 times a year. We have a lot of donors that donate to us when they get the newsletter, and it gives us enough to keep going year by year. Yeah.
You ever interact with like Wildlife Safari at all? Is there any sort of like partners?
I have, in the way of giving them non-releasable birds, birds of prey. A lot of theirs out there came from us. Not all of them, but I think they still have a turkey vulture that I gave to them. A red-tailed hawk named Wingman that's in the drive. That if you ride the train, they have that cage out there. So, and then Captain, the great horned owl, he's out there. The bald eagle they have didn't come from us. And then I just gave them last year, we gave them a new ambassador great horn. They had lost theirs. And this little fluffer came in last year. And as he developed, and he was with Nell, and as he went outside to develop, I noticed he acts like he can't see well, so he was hunting and pecking. And I know that great horned owls occasionally can be born with cataracts, believe it or not, or develop them early in the nest due to maybe malnourishment or not the proper nutrients. They're not really sure why, but it happens. Actually, it happens more than rarely. Anyway, so I took him up to Cascade Raptor to the vet up there, and she said, yeah, he has cataracts and probably non-releasable. And asked the safari, and they said, we just lost our ambassador. We'd love to have her. And they took her down to the ophthalmologist specialist in Medford, and they did surgery on the one eye and removed a cataract. So she actually has vision in one eye, but they weren't able to do the other one. And so she can see partly, but not probably well enough to, if she'd been an adult, you can actually release one-eyed owls out there. They do fine if they're an adult and they know already how to hunt. Right. I actually have one right now. Actually, my buddy Joe in the group has a great horned that just had surgery down at Countryside Vet in Canyonville and had an eye removed and stitched up. But a full adult knows how to hunt. And I test hunted him before the surgery because I thought if he can't hunt, no problem. He was on it. So he's in recovery and going to be released. But when you have a baby that's never hunted, to put him out there with one eye is not a good thing. So now they have her, and I think her name is Iris. out at the safari.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I work with them in that way.
Nice. Have
Yeah.
you noticed, like, over the years of rescuing animals, do different animals have like different personalities?
Yeah, they all do. They all do. And when I started, as the lowly person you are way down the rung, you get a lot of all this and that, the things that other rehabbers don't want to take. And so I did a lot of pigeons and doves and a lot of ducklings and things. And yeah, a lot of people think pigeons are like the rats of the sky.
Right.
They are incredible creatures. They have an
Yeah.
incredible personality, they really do. They're very nurturing, kind of friendly because they're not really a wild animal, And that's what made me realize no matter what you're doing, they all have their kind of unique personalities,
Yeah.
different. Now, with raptors, you've got different birds of prey are a little more high strung and a little more vicious. And you would think the bigger ones would be that, but it's actually the smaller ones that are. Like the bald eagle, he's so heavy. I have one right now. She can't jump up at me with her talons, where if you go in with a red towel, they can go wham.
Yeah. It's probably for
Yeah.
survival, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they do all have unique individual personalities.
Do
Yeah.
you ever find animals that you maybe when they were younger, you heal up and then you're ready to release them to the wild and they don't want to go? They just like look at you at the door and say,
I would say every rehabber's experienced that a time or two, especially in your early periods of learning. That one of the things that's drilled into your head as a rehabber is that you have to do it in a way that doesn't make them tame.
Yeah.
And that's hard because a lot of people that come in because they think, oh, it's going to be fun, I want to love on them, these babies. You can't. You cannot.
Can't treat them like a pet almost, right?
No. So, but I think we've all habituated a few, in our time, in our attempt to try to get it right, especially in the early years. And the unfortunate thing about that is, first of all, statistically, any animal that comes out of the wild into our care, we've just reduced its chance of survival by 50%.
Oh.
If you habituate it and imprint it, you've reduced it again by probably another 25%. They really have to have their instincts. They have to have that. Be equipped with all of that. So you're doing them a huge injustice if you're in it for that. You should do domestic dogs and cats, okay? Then it doesn't matter because it's important for their survival out there.
Is that the toughest part? Is raising them young and then having to release them into the wild and
yes,
good luck out there?
Yes, like this little great horned. Fortunately, his eyes are still closed, so he can't see me, but I have to be silent when I feed him, and I have to let him see me very limitedly. And he's as cute as a button. I can show you a picture of him after the podcast. He's one that you want to go, oh.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't, and no words, feed, put away. And then now his eyes are getting ready to open. I've got to get him in with now, and then he's going to see me even less. I've got to suit up so he can't see my face, feed him, and leave him with her. And so that's hard. And probably the hardest thing when I did fawns, because they're so adorable. And they do habituate real easily, And so part of the program was building a visual barrier fencing, having bottle racks from the outside, water buckets inside with a hose thread through, minimal visual contact and minimal voicing. Only when they first come in, if they're real tiny and they still you have to teach them to take a bottle and you have to stimulate them to go potty. But once they're stable and out, you let them bond with each other, and it's hands off. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because a tame deer is a dead deer. He walks up to somebody and they're going to shoot it like a hunter,
Is that the most common type of animal that you would say you get most calls about is deer?
No, I mean seasonally. Like our big season is birthing season, which is what we're in now through the fall. So the majority of what we do is now through September, and then it's kind of wintertime kickback. We don't get any babies, obviously, and we get the occasional adult, mostly adult songbirds and adult birds of prey is what we get, and but the most common thing I would have to say is probably songbirds because there's so many of them, For instance, we get in about 250 to 300 cases a year. Okay.
Wow.
And the majority, I don't know the exact number, but I'm going to say maybe half are in the passerine songbird category, whether it's adult or baby. Of course, they have nestful, too, instead of a single. And, there's just so many varieties of songbirds and stuff out there.
How many calls a week do you think you guys get on?
Well, if you talked to the hotline yesterday and the day before, a lot. So during the winter months, you may not get any for days, and just a hit and miss here and there. But now, and we've got a new group of people taking hotline. These last workshops we had, some of them just wanted to do that. And we like to get them on when it's quiet. And then we say, brace yourself, because here it comes. Right. And so 2 days ago, I had one of them calling, go, oh my God. She said, I've had like 10 calls and I've had to deal with ODF&W and the state police. And I went, welcome to the season. you know? So we could get this time of year anywhere from 10 to 20 calls, maybe. They don't all result in rescues. Sure. I mean, some of them are just like fledglings on the ground. Parents are there, put them in a bush, put them in the tree, leave them alone. That's the other thing. We don't like to kidnap babies if the parents are there. I don't care what. Like they'll say, but I have a cat. Put your cat in the house. They're teaching it to fly. In a few days, it'll be flying. All will be well. And they teach them so much better than we can. Like, I can't teach them to fly. So, and then we also get calls on domestics and exotics, and we just channel them to the right place and stuff.
Have you gotten a call on a mink before?
Yeah. We've had minks
in my house a few years ago on the side of my house. Didn't know what it was, and luckily my cat didn't try to. He just walked up, was super curious, and then I think it was a younger mink, but the mink was pissed.
Was it?
It was making craziest noise I ever heard.
Yeah,
I had no idea where it went. It ran in my backyard and off of.
Do you have water anywhere nearby?
No
water.
No,
because they live in water.
That's what I heard.
Or near water, in streams and things. We've had a few mink in rehab. Yeah,
and it was really cute without it making a crazy.
They
noise.
are cute. And beaver.
Yeah.
We have a beaver in that's been in 2 years. So if you get a baby beaver, it takes about 2 years to rehab them up, ready for release. And the gal that does the fawns, Lynn Young, down in Myrtle Creek, she does large mammals or mammals, including fawns. So she has had this beaver for 2 years. It's getting ready to be released. And she'll get the baby bobcat and baby fox and do those.
Gosh, I would be the worst at this job. I would just keep everything.
And you can't do it. You cannot do it. Yeah, you got to develop tough skin. I wasn't as tough as I am now. Like my husband's always like, he's always baffled, and my daughters, how I could turn to birds of prey because we're a vegetarian family. Okay. And I have to feed live prey, and I have to feed dead mice and roadkill. And they're like, I don't know how you can do that. I'm like, okay. So if an owl could eat broccoli, I'd feed it broccoli, but it can't. I have to do what I need to do for it. Yeah.
Right.
So
is there advice you would give your younger self?
Yeah, I'd say buckle up. Buckle up for the ride, because it's going to be a long one, and maybe think about it, but I don't think I'd change my mind. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So if folks want to donate or find out more information about your organization, is the best way just to kind of go out to the website?
Website or our Facebook page. Yeah, we have a lot of stories that we try to update, the different animal stories with pictures and what happens to them on our Facebook page. And I think there's a link that will lead them to our website as well. And you can donate from our website and I think from our Facebook page. We do send out our newsletter to, I think, a few hundred people maybe 2 or 3 times a year, donations there. And then our hotline, if you think, I guess my biggest message at baby season is before you pick something up and take it away, call a wildlife rehabber to make sure it needs to be taken. And just call our hotline, that 541-440-6895, and we will assist you.
Yep. I love it. And the website is umpquawildliferescue.org.
Yes.
And it has the hotline on there and all the other good information on there as well, too.
Yeah.
I love it.
I was told that you can't just give them, you can't give the wild animal any food that I'd give them. They got to be, that was when the kid in my house rescued a turkey. He asked, like, did you feed them anything that kind of stuff? Because sometimes it can mess up their tummies and stuff, make it worse.
Well, anything, think about like if they're any animal that's used to a certain diet, especially babies with milk formula. And then people go and give them just regular cow's milk, which is only 2% fat, okay?
Yeah.
They need lots of fat. So we have to reintroduce a new diet and do it very slowly and gradually. Often it starts with fluids and then working into a diet so that it doesn't upset their digestion. Really important, especially with babies and baby mammals more than anything. Like fawns, they have a very delicate digestive system and can get, diarrhea real easy and die from it very easily. And the first thing people want to do when they get something is feed it and give it water. And it's just because it's what we do, right? It makes us feel good. And so that's all they know to do, and they feel like they can help do that. And I get it because I used to be one of those people,
Okay.
Just
So is that kind of I don't know, say the best, but is that like the best general advice to the public is almost kind of leave the animal alone until maybe even call the hotline to kind of get advice on what to do with the animal?
I would say for the safety of them, if it's an adult that could hurt them, there's a disease. Some of them bite, some of them are rabies, vector species. The smartest thing is to observe it and note where it's located,
Right.
and call someone to come out and check it out that has the equipment to capture it if necessary. And with babies, don't just assume they're orphaned if you don't see a parent. A lot of parents come and go, and a lot of them stay away. Put your pets in if you're concerned. Move it into it's also a myth if you handle them that they'll abandon them. That's not true. I always say some grandma somewhere told their grandkids, don't touch them or they won't take them, just to keep them from doing that. But you can, me too.
Right.
You can do that. You can move a fawn to, like, a lot of times fawns will drop right in the middle of the road or on somebody's property on a gravel road, and something scared it, and that's their instinct. They stop and drop and lay flat, and they're going to wait for mom, and she might not come back till nightfall. So yes, pick it up, put it to the tall grass, but just leave them and make sure, have somebody that knows, about the situation, determine if it really needs to come in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are there animals that get promoted or demoted from the term nuisance? Like, is there are you a nuisance one year, and they're like, is there like a naughty and nice list that you get to go on and off every year?
Like, you didn't kill the farmer's sheep this year,
Right,
so you
right.
get to come back. Yeah, no.
You're a nuisance
No.
no matter what, right?
Pretty much that's their drive and instinct. So, yeah, only just the native species that we've been allowed to do that. Sometimes they'll put restrictions on for disease purposes or something like that. Mostly it's just due to disease. They don't want to spread it. Some of the disease could spread to your domestics, So they just monitor that until that kind of passes, and then they generally open it back up for us.
So is Bigfoot considered a nuisance?
Well, I've never had a call on
Yes.
Bigfoot. I've never had a call, but I don't think he's really a nuisance, do you?
No.
Like, he's out there doing his thing.
So out of all these years,
He's
you
very
guys have
smart.
never had a call about someone thinking they've seen Bigfoot.
Not that I know of.
No.
Like, I'm not on
No one's
hotline all
gonna
the
say.
time, but not that I know of. No. Yeah.
He keeps to himself.
Yeah.
Right.
He's smart,
Yeah.
he hides
Right.
and yeah.
Love it.
That's funny. So we kind of ask this question to everyone.
Okay.
Outside animal related. If you can invite 3 people to a dinner party, dead or alive, who would they be?
Well, they're all kind of naturalists, people that I love. Having had the bookstore forever, got involved with a lot of authors that were kind of naturalists. May Sarton's one of my favorite. They're all East Coast people. Tasha Tudor, who was a children's book author, illustrator. She died maybe 10 years ago, but she lived on a farm in Vermont and lived like the 1800s, and all the way until her 80s. She was outside barefoot, chopping wood, carrying water, and I think that's awesome. Awesome. And I love people like Mark Twain and Jane Goodall and Diane Fossey, who was saving the gorillas, things like that. Yeah, I'd love to sit at a table with all of them.
Have a conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So is there a last piece of advice or a word you'd like to put in for folks that either would like to get involved or anything else about just Wildlife Rescue?
Well, I could say if you have an interest, come and check us out. We do a series of workshops starting in the fall after our season, typically in October. And it's one workshop a month through March, and then they're ready to make a decision on where they fit into our group. And if they want to do rehab, then what has to happen is somebody who's licensed has to take them on as a subcommittee and mentor them for a year. And so we'll be having some upcoming workshops in the fall. Just look at our website, look at the Facebook, we'll advertise it. We always need new life. We need young life and people that have the same passion.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Passion's important.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And again, it's umpquawildliferescue.org, and the hotline number is 541-440-6895.
And then you will plug you actually have a business. You told us right before the podcast. What's your business you have?
My daughter and I, Felicia Meller, have Gathering Grounds Coffee House in downtown Roseburg on the corner of Oak and Main. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Now, our last two questions.
Okay.
Some of our favorites I'm going to ask everyone.
Okay.
What's your favorite movie?
I thought about that. I saw that question. Well, I'm a hopeless romantic and I like comedy. And I'm a rescuer, right? So the movies that I like are one person rescuing another person, from their horrible life, like Pretty Woman and like Dirty Dancing and like the Titanic. Those are mine. It's still rescue. It just.
I love it. All right. Last one.
Oh,
go for it.
Yes.
Is there another one?
Sandwich.
Oh, my favorite sandwich.
It's a tough one.
Well, as a vegetarian,
Yes.
I'm limited. But at Gathering Grounds, we're a vegetarian cafe, not vegan. We have cheese, we have eggs, and we make some good vegetarian sandwiches. I'm coming right up because it's June. I'm doing a barbecued jack sandwich with jackfruit, and I do a Reuben sandwich with the Reuben sauce and the horseradish, and those are probably my two favorites.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you vegan just from the compassion of animals? Is that
Yeah, if we want to get into that. Yeah, my kids were it kind of started. They're kind of like empaths. It's kind of interesting. The whole way it started, we were raised like the standard American diet. My husband and I in California, meat eaters. I didn't farm and kill, but I ate meat, But my oldest daughter, they're about 5 years apart, Daisy, came home one day with a book on slaughterhouses from the library. And she shared it with her sister. And they vowed at 9, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like 8 and 12, we're never eating meat again. And we went, yeah, right. And my husband had been a vegetarian in his early life as an early adult. And he said, I'll just do it with them for now, face out. It never faced out. They've never eaten meat since. And it took me like 5 years to get on board with them when I realized this isn't going to change. I said, okay, I won't cook it. I'll just eat it out. Then finally I don't. And so now it's been 25 years at least or more. And so then when my daughters grew up, they became vegans. And all my grandchildren are vegans from birth. I have a 16 and an 18-year-old grandsons, and my 5 and 8-year-old granddaughters never. So it's like, and they do it for the compassion of animals, not for health. We always said people that do it for health, how as we are as humans, we care about our health. We don't care about our health. We wave in and out. Those, I feel, are the ones that become vegetarians and not vegetarians and, try all these other different diets. But if you're truly doing it for the salvation of life, in our mind, it's just us. And I don't care what anybody does. I get it because I was raised that way. I lived that way. My father hunted. My grandfather hunted and fished. For us, we feel like it's not necessary to take a life to sustain our life. That's it. It's just that for us.
I think that's great.
Yeah. So.
You have been awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's been fun. It's good to meet you guys.
Yes. That was very good info, and I love all the stories and learning about the owl and the little gooselings and goslings. Thank you again. And if you want to get a hold of the show, it's OregonFilesPodcast@yahoo.com. Mark puts it on YouTube. Again, I'll plug the website, the OregonFilesPodcast.com, and you can check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.